So I'm really, really excited to welcome Jasmin as our second presenter. Jasmin, give us a wave, Jasmin. There's Jasmin. Do you see her there? I'm going to unmute her too. So Jasmin and I have known each other now for 2 years. We actually met just around Mother's Day 2 years ago. So because she was doing a talk on motherhood and really sharing a very special story within a group gathering as well. It was over dinner. So from that moment, I knew that we had a really beautiful connection. She not only she's a mother to 2 young children as well, Liv and Zen. She's a dedicated wife, but she's also in this space. She's a psychotherapist, and she has 2 master degrees from Columbia University, and she's created something that she calls life therapy. So it's not only in the traditional sense of psychotherapy, but it's also incorporating coaching, mindfulness, meditation. And she's written a couple of books. I've read 2 of them. I have one of them here, Extraordinary You. The Extraordinary Mommy book, which I especially love, I have gifted always to a few people, so I don't have a copy with me here. But I'm really, really excited to welcome Jasmin. Thank you so much for joining us, Jasmin.
Thank you so much for having me. Hi, everybody. What a beautiful transition. Like, I literally just cried, Christy. I came in and like 5 minutes in and I'm like, wow, this is so deep. So thank you for that. That was really beautiful. So, hi, ladies. Should I just jump in?
Well, we were really, we're transitioning from yoga, and, some people are writing in. I think it's okay if you want everybody to connect, get to know who you're talking to however you'd like to transition, Jasmin. But I see some people are writing in the chat here as well.
What are we writing? Let's see.
I'm going to make you a co-host as well so that you can do things like me.
Well, so maybe what we'll do is I'll jump in and start sharing a bit, and then we'll spend time at the end afterwards and spend some more time chatting and kind of like open question. Should we do it the same way as we did before, where everyone kind of has a question and you can open it up to me or to the group and have it become more of a full conversation?
Sure.
All right. So I'm going to begin by dedicating this to my mother. And I'm going to start off by sharing a little bit with you about my story. And I often start when I speak by explaining that I'm not a speaker. Like I'm much more comfortable as a listener. But I'm here to share because I feel like I'm supposed to. So I'm just going to share my story and trust that you're going to get whatever it is that you're meant to get from it. So I grew up in a house that was far from ordinary. My friends lovingly referred to it as Willy Wonka's factory. So the house had purple trim around the house, and the mailbox was shaped like a heart, and every post on the walkway going up to my house was a different pastel color, and every cabinet in my kitchen was a different color. And we had hot pink leather couches and wall hangings of ice cream sundaes and illuminated signs of love. And this house that I grew up in was the manifestation of my mom's commitment to living from love. Now, it wasn't just like ice cream and bubblegum love. It was fun, and it was loving and warm and inviting and alive. But it was also deep and connected and conscious and communicative. And it was all based on her commitment to her own inner work. So my mom, at this point in life, people are more comfortable with the term of conscious parenting and meditation and things like that. But she was kind of a generation in advance, right? So she meditated for an hour a day, every single day of my life. After we got out of the house, it became 2 hours. So she was highly dedicated to her own deep spiritual work. And I got to be the blessed recipient of that. Now, my father was in the picture too, but she was the pilot. He was the co-pilot in this equation. So we love dad, but we'll talk about mom. So as a result, I always felt a little bit guilty because I knew how rare this life was and how rare this parenting was and how rare this home was. You know, I had all of my friends who would come over and always tell me how amazing she was and how lucky I was. And, you know, throughout my life, I've traveled to over 65 countries. I've seen the world, I've seen the way that it is, and I know how unique this upbringing was. And for some reason, I just always felt like I just got lucky and I didn't really deserve it. And I felt a little bad or ashamed. I didn't want to brag. I didn't want people to feel bad, like, oh, like, sorry, you know, I got this and you didn't. So I never shared much about it. But one day my love bubble burst. And it was 5 years ago, on January 22nd, 2015, my mom was driving to meet me for lunch, and she never arrived. And that was the day that my mom left this planet, left her body, and that was it. And that was the day that my whole life changed. And I realized that deep down, it was my gift. Like I'm never gonna forget the call. I'm never gonna forget the call that I got when I found out. And I had tears pouring down my cheek, and I could feel her speak through my soul. And what I heard her say was, "It's okay. You're gonna be okay. You're the mommy now." And so at the time, I was the mother of a 1-year-old. I had my private practice. I was married. I had my father who always depended on my mother. So now he was a mess. And then I went into the most painful year of my life, crying every single day. But intentionally crying, intentionally going through it. You know, I feel that I was as prepared for this pain as I could have been, with all the tools that I have in my tool belt as a therapist, with all the tools that she had given me through my life. I felt like, okay, now's my time to actually use them in a way that I never had to before. And so 1 year later, after this most painful year of my life, on the actual anniversary of her death, January 22nd, 2016, I gave birth to my daughter at home in the bathtub. My mother gave me the biggest gift of my life, letting me know that everything happens exactly as it's supposed to. And my brother actually got the biggest gift of his life on that day as well, which is in my book, and you can read all about it. And so when I called my dad to tell him that my daughter was born, he was at the same mile marker where it was that she left us, mile marker 64. So there were a multitude of all these synchronicities, all of these divine connections, and they're all in the book, but those were a few of the big ones. And after my daughter was born, a new peace came over me. And I realized that guilty feeling that I had always felt, that I wasn't worthy of being loved like that, of having had that experience. Not only was I worthy, but all children are. And that perhaps she was gone so that I would find the courage to share. So I don't know if you've ever had this experience where you've felt guilty for your blessings, or if you've ever had a painful situation that you know is a gift in some way and you're waiting to figure out what that gift may be. But those were some of the nuggets that I got from it. And so upon writing the book, it was really to put together all of the nuggets, the core elements of what made her able to love the way that she did, what made her able to be present the way that she was. Because really, when you think about it, I often think about a relationship as two people on two different sides of a bridge. And the way that one feels loved by someone else is that this person, the other person, is coming to your side of the bridge with you, is seeing you, is hearing you, is experiencing your experience with you, and is there with you. And she was so good at that, so good at coming to my side of the bridge with me and my brother and helping us feel seen and heard and understood and loved. And now that I'm a parent, it always seemed easy to me because she made it look so easy. And now that I'm a parent, I realize how hard it is to actually do that, because I have so much going on my side of the bridge in my head and all the things that I want to do. And my kids are in their own little world and all they want is for me to be in their bubble. But it's really hard to do that. And so writing this book was all of kind of her key foundations of how she was able to do that inner work so that she could be there on our side of the bridge with us. Now, one of the biggest factors in this is in the second book that Dawn was talking about is understanding our inner space and our feelings. And so what I'm going to do today is I'm going to go and take a deep dive into how we deal with our feelings, because I really think of our inner space like a room. Sometimes it's a messy room, right? And so in our inner space, we have all these thoughts, we have all these feelings. And what we need to learn how to do is clean out this room so that we can be free flowing, so we can have this love flow through us, because there's nothing more powerful than a mother's love. But when it's cloudy and when it's messy in there, it's hard for that love to flow through us. It's hard for us to move and be on our children's or our spouses or our loved ones' side of the bridge. And so oftentimes people talk about mindfulness, and I think of this as the step before a mindfulness practice. I see mindfulness, and we'll get into the details of it. Mindfulness is kind of a maintenance practice, which is like, I'm going to talk about kind of a deep clearing of what goes on inside of us. And then a mindfulness practice is the maintaining of having everything in its place, right? But sometimes we just need to do a spring cleaning and put everything in its place and work through all of our inner stuff because we never have before, or we don't know how to, or we just think it's normal, or it is normal, but we just haven't. So what I'm going to do is talk to you a bit about our feelings, right? So I like to think of our inner space as like the planet, right? On our planet, it's not always a sunny day. Sometimes it's stormy, sometimes it's raining, sometimes there's a tsunami, right? We need the quote, bad weather for the perfection of our planet. It won't function if it's always a sunny day. However, we have judgments against bad weather, right? We think, oh, good weather versus bad weather. So the idea is, how do we understand that all this weather is perfect and it's whole and it's required, it's necessary for the functioning of our planet? And equally, it's not always a sunny day inside of us. And our, quote, bad weather, our stress, our anxiety, our fears, our anger, or all of the, quote, negative feelings inside of us are also part of our wholeness and are part of our perfection. Now, the challenge is with that, and I know that we have yogis and all these people, the challenging part about that is that it's just uncomfortable and we don't want to feel it. And so I like to think of it like this glass, right? So we've got here our quote, positive feelings. And I say quote on purpose because it's all perfect and it's all whole. So we have our positive quote unquote feelings, right? Which is like your ambition and your motivation and your excitement and your whatever, all your like, your, at least I have so much to be grateful for, and there's kids starving in Africa, I shouldn't be sad, you know, like that kind of thing. Then we have our glass half empty part, which are our sadness and our fears and our pains. Now, personally, because I grew up in this love bubble, that somehow I didn't get the memo that pain was okay. And it wasn't for anyone's fault, but it was because I was so aware of my blessings that I always felt like I should be positive. And I think that we have this kind of like positive attachment in our society. We're like, gotta be positive, gotta be positive, gotta be positive. There's so much, at least, you know, we're in this quarantine. Well, you know, it could be worse. It could be worse. We should count our blessings and all of these things. But what happens here is that we're focusing on only seeing the positive, the glass half full part, and we build this muscle to go into this part, which ends up avoiding the pain and the discomfort, which is also part of our perfection. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how to deal with these feelings, because I think that we have 4 fundamental ways in which we can deal with our uncomfortable feelings, right? And right now is the perfect time for us to be dealing with these uncomfortable feelings, because there's so many of them coming up because we're stuck with ourselves, right? And I remember once I did this 10-day silent meditation retreat, and it was 10 days straight of just being with myself. 1 hour, meditate, break, 1 hour, meditate, break, 1 hour, meditate, break. And the fascination was that there was no stimulus. There was nothing happening in my life. And then I'd be happy, and then I'd be sad, and then I'd be angry. Like all these feelings just come through you because you're stopping long enough to let it move through you. So I really think of this quarantine as this beautiful opportunity to let this stuff come through us, but I also want to give you some tools for actually how to do that. So if you think about these uncomfortable feelings, like I said, there's 4 ways in which we deal with them. So first of all, just before I jump into those, I want to ask a few questions. Like if you think about some reoccurring uncomfortable feelings that you have, can you identify like some reoccurring things that come up to you? Is it a fear? Is it a self-judgment? Is it an anger? Is it a frustration? Can you think of some uncomfortable feelings that come up for you? And then the next question to ask yourself is, how do I feel about those uncomfortable feelings? Do I like them? Do I wish they would go away? How do I feel about it? How do I relate to those uncomfortable feelings? Because I think these 4 different ways that we actually deal with our uncomfortable feelings can say so much, right? So the first way that people deal with these uncomfortable feelings is through self-medication. Right? So this is, I don't want to feel this uncomfortable feeling, so therefore I'm going to do anything to make me feel good. And oftentimes the things that make us feel good aren't really good for us. So that's the eating, like, and this overeating, drinking, porn, shopping. Oh yeah, I'm trying to think. That was a different one. You know, just whatever. Gambling, whatever things that you're doing that give you a high, but that really are making you feel worse in the long run, right? It gives you a high temporarily, but it makes you feel worse. And often I like to think of the extent of your self-medicating has to do with the extent of your pain. The more pain you're in, the more intense your self-medication. Okay, then the next thing, it's kind of like that was the most intense way that we deal with our pain, right? Then the next level is distraction, which I think most people hang out in most of the time. That's watching your screens, being on your screens, organizing, cleaning, maybe calling a friend, seeing how they're doing, sometimes even exercising, ways in which we are trying not to feel what we're feeling. It could be seen as positive, right? That was like something that I used to always do. My vices were eating. So that was my self-medication. I would eat, and then I would over-exercise. And then once I started working through it, what I realized, I would always go and take care of other people, right? Like I would go to their side of the bridge and I wouldn't come to my side of the bridge and deal with what was going on my side of the bridge because I was busy taking care of other people. So as much as that seemed like a nice thing to do, it was still distracting from myself. So, and then the last one is engulfment. So the first 2 are like, if you have your pain and you're just trying to see what you can do to get into your positive feelings, you're either self-medicating or you're distracting so that you can be here. Now there's some people who do the opposite, who just are taken over by the pain and they're just stuck in it and they can't get themselves out of it, right? So those are people who are feeling depressed and who are feeling low and it's not worth it and they're just stuck in it. Now, I think as a society, we're often taught, we're we respond to people as if they're stuck in their pain, and we're teaching them the skill to get out of it. So the skill to get out of the pain is those things, right? It is seeing the bigger picture, is saying, at least, let me be generous, maybe let me be grateful, let me give, right? So those are still are lovely things to do. But a lot of people already have that muscle built and already have that skill built. And so if you aren't somebody who's engulfed in your pain, you need to do the opposite direction in order to get through it. So the ultimate goal is to become the glass, right? The ultimate goal is how do I become the space that allows this duality to exist simultaneously. So I call this practice self-love, right? Everyone talks about self-love, but what it really is how do I become a loving parent to my pain? How do I love my uncomfortable feelings? And it doesn't mean like, it doesn't mean enjoy, it means honor and accept, like an open hand, right? When I love something, it doesn't mean I want more of it. It doesn't mean I hold on tight. It means I have an open hand and I let it flow through me and I accept it for exactly as it is. And I learn how to love it and relate to it and be kind to it because it's there and because it's part of me. So I'm gonna get a little bit clearer. So if you think about yourself, what is your tendency? Are you somebody who self-medicates? Are you somebody who distracts? Are you somebody who engulfs and falls into your pain? Maybe sometimes one or the other. Which is your tendency? And so now that you are aware of your tendency, what we're going to do is just clarify is that if you are somebody who self-medicates or distracts and you are always trying to find the positive in things and you're self-medicating and eating and getting in these cycles, the work here for you is to actually go into your pain and learn how to become a loving parent to your pain. And if you are somebody who is stuck in your pain, then the work for you is to learn how to take your blinders off, to not be so stuck in it, and to start to see the bigger picture, to find ways to pull yourself out of it and to experience life more fully. And so I have a 4-step meditation for you guys, if you'd like, that helps kind of intensify this experience, if you'd be down with that.
We're down.
Yeah? Okay.
We're up with it.
All right, so why don't everyone close your eyes. Take a deep breath. So just take a moment and just check in with yourself. See what's going on inside you right here and now. And I'm going to lead you through a series of questions. The first question is, what am I thinking right now? And then answer yourself. Right now, I am thinking this. Next question is, what am I feeling right now? And answer the question, I am feeling this. Third question is, what are my body sensations? What am I experiencing in my body right now? I am experiencing this. And the last step is to identify that thought, feeling, body sensation, whatever seems like it needs, whatever needs the most attention right now. And bring all of your attention to that thought or that feeling or that sensation. And talk to it the way a loving mother would talk to a child. Tell it it's okay. It's okay that you're here, thought. It's okay that you're here, feeling. It's okay that you're here, sensation. It's okay. I love you. I see you. I accept you. You're okay. It's okay. And as you continue to speak to that part of yourself, allowing that love to flow through you, that loving acceptance, just let yourself breathe. No judgment. Now just take a few moments. Wiggle your fingers and your toes. Bring your attention back to the room. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. So throughout this quarantine, I've been feeling drawn to support or serve and help others go through their own inner journey as all of these things come up. And so what I've done is I've created a 14-day reflection challenge. It's an email that you get each day, which has a prompt of something to reflect upon, and then journal entries for you to work through and kind of do a deep dive so that you're pausing each day for, it could be 5 minutes, it could be 20 minutes, whatever it is that you want. I can give that to Dawn, and I invite you all to join the challenge. And at the end of the challenge, all the mothers, it's 4 mothers, are invited to join a community. You can join it now if you don't want to do the challenge, or you could do both or none or whatever, but the community is intended. What I've realized in my own work is that I work best individually with people, and the most powerful work that I do is helping one individual person go through their own experience, right? So there's only so much you can do with a group of people. However, and there's only one of me, and I can only serve so many people. So in this community, I have courses, for both of those books. I have online courses that are available for how to deal with your uncomfortable feelings, your anxiety, stress, and other challenging emotions. And another course is how to be the parent your children need right now, which is an extension of this book about my mother. But there's also an opportunity to, it's kind of like a private podcast where all the sessions that I'm having with individual clients, we're recording them and then sharing them with each other so that you have access to not only have sessions with me, and I'm going to be having some other coaches join as well, so you're getting your individual sessions, but you can be listening to each other's sessions. Because what I've realized for me, part of what keeps me most grounded is this work, is that when I'm working with clients individually, I feel grounded. I feel reflective. We're learning, we're growing, we're challenging. And I always wish that people could be a fly on the wall of these conversations, because everyone would feel so much less alone if they knew all the things that everyone else was going through. I feel like oftentimes we compare our insides to other people's outsides, right? We see what everyone posts and people say or whatever, but we don't really know what's going on inside them. And then we think that something's wrong with us, whereas we're all going through such similar things, particularly right now. And so to pull this all together, one thing that I really realized about my own journey now that I've lost my mom is I'm sure many of you feel this way, is that I know for me that I want to go beyond where my mom was, right? I want to take her life to the next level. I want to be even better than she was. And I think that she was able to be such an extraordinary mother, but it was also in a different time, right? She wasn't trying to build a business. She didn't have the pace. She didn't have the internet. She didn't have the social media. It was a different time. And I think that it's much, much harder now in this day and age to be that kind of mother when you're trying to manage and handle all the other things. And people say balance is bullshit. And I really, as a Libra, I'm somebody who's highly committed to balance. So I think it does come as a priority. Like if you want balance, you can make it happen, but it is a priority. And so for me, it's been an interesting dance to take her life to the next level, to not only be a conscious, present, loving mother, but to always also be a businesswoman and to have a business and have my relationship with my husband and have my own well-being and have my friendships, to have all those things to be able to manage simultaneously is a far greater challenge than the one that she experienced. And what I've also realized is that I don't have a role model for this life that I'm creating. My vision for my life is different than the lives that I witness around me and the people who I'm inspired by. I mean, I think of, like Oprah or Tony Robbins or Gandhi or, Marie Forleo or Mother Teresa, all these people. None of them are married mothers. None of these people making a difference on the planet are also being mothers and being present and being loving and doing this deep, powerful work within their home and being a wife. And so my mission for my own life is how do I do both? And how do I create a life that looks like mine, that's not somebody else's, and I'm not following somebody else's plan for how a life should be and doing all of these, these days everyone's got a course and you should do it this way and you should do it that way. But for me, I don't want somebody else's information as to how to do it. I want to find my own information because I'm optimizing for something different than everybody else is. And you are, and you are, and you are. So part of this work that I do with people is to help you find your own way and your own path so that you can optimize for whatever makes the most sense for you. And so I invite you to do this work, to find your own answers, to do the reflection, to join the community, whatever feels of value to you. You are more than welcome and you're more than invited. And with that said, I would love to speak with you guys and see what your thoughts are. If you have any questions, I'm here to share.
Well, I think it would be really, thank you, Jasmin. Thank you so much. I think, we have a nice sized group. We have a small enough group though, too. I think it would be nice to hear from everyone. And certainly, I think somebody had posted earlier, they'd love to simply know where you're all from. I mean, that's just a very simple thing to say, who you are and where you're from. But more importantly, I mean, Jasmin has a huge wealth of knowledge and wisdom and experience. And I've had lots of these conversations together with her. So I think if simply there's a question, either if you're a mother yourself, or I have a 5-year-old, similar, she has young children as well. If you have young children, if there's something that you're navigating through and you would like to ask that, or if you are a mother who has been through this, I know we have a few of you here too, if you have a little tidbit of wisdom, there's so much wisdom that we can learn from each other if we're not too shy or nervous to share it. So with that said, I think I will go first and then pass it along. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Dawn and I live in Stuart, Florida. I can see my mother-in-law is here on this call, Gail Grossman. I can see my mom's name on this call, but she's hiding somewhere, Lori Esposito. And so I have a 5-year-old. Oh, there she is. Hi, Mom. I love when we can see each other. So I have a 5-year-old, and the question I have for you, Jasmin, and I think that there's no real easy answer to this, but I know Zen is probably 6 and Liv is 4, right? Or something like that. How do you, it's kind of a 2-part question. One is when you're seeing bad behavior that you think looks bad, you know it's for attention. I mean, I know it's for attention,
Right.
or it seems that way. One is managing that behavior, but at the same time, I can see even when, you know, you want to try to connect with, he's a boy, him, you know, ask him how he's feeling. He does not really want to share any kind of emotion or conversation unless it's like the stuff you don't want to see.
Like what?
I mean, you know, he'll try to like, he'll try to hit, or he'll try to act out, or he'll try to still, you know, make silly noises that don't make sense just because he's trying to get that, you know, something across that's a feeling, emotion, or whatever, but it's not coming through in any constructive way.
Yeah. So the question is how to deal with it.
And there's no real like magic ball.
Okay, so there's a few thoughts that I have. So one thing that I find the most challenging is that when I'm trying to, I come back to this bridge idea, right? Is that if they're on their side of the bridge and we're on our side of the bridge, and his side of the bridge is whatever he wants, whatever he needs. The biggest challenge is when we both plant our feet on our own sides of the bridge. And we want them to come to our side of the bridge and understand we need this, and we try to control the situation. We want them to be on our side of the bridge, and that's where there's conflict. And sometimes it's necessary for them to come to our side of the bridge, but how do we get them to go there, right? So the question is, something that I use with my kids when they're acting crazy is I actually look them, I get down at their level on my knees, and I say, do you want my attention? And often they calm down and say yes. Okay, is this the way that we act to get our attention? No, I want to give you my attention, and I will. And this is how we ask for it. Do you want to try that again? And so the idea is, how do we not react to their reactions and plant our feet on our side of the bridge, but how do we come over to their side of the bridge to feel their experience, to acknowledge it, and then invite them, okay, well, now let's see how this works. And so the real question is, if you want my attention, what are some ways that you can get it? Okay. One day I remember talking to my son, and he's 6, right? So we had this experience where I was saying to him, how do I get you to listen to me? And he goes and looks at me and goes, Mom, how do I get you to listen to me? And I was like, oh. Like whatever it is that we want from them is what we need to be giving to them. And so I'm busy trying to get him to like do things my way or control the situation, and he's busy doing the same thing. And everyone's always like, oh, we have to be the bigger person or whatever. But yeah, like, yes, period, end of story. Always with your spouse, with whatever, just always know that your job, that our inner work, all of our self-love, all of our clearing is so that we can go to the other person's side of the bridge first. That's why we do this work. That's why we're clearing our inner space, so that we can be loving enough to go to their side of the bridge first, help them feel seen, help them feel heard, and then we can invite them to our side of the bridge if they'd like to.
Love that. And I guess that's something with all humans.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely. And spouses.
Especially.
Because it's so easy. I noticed, like, and I was talking to a client about this the other day, is like, when I'm in session with a client and it's me and you, I have no problem being on your side of the bridge and being in your world and having your experience. I can do it for like 10 hours straight. I'll just be on your side of the bridge or whoever else's side of the bridge all day long. But for some reason, when you get home, when you're with your kids, when you're with your loved ones or your parents or the people who are closest to you, they're the people who are our triggers. They're our spiritual teachers. They're the ones who bring out our stuff. And there's also, it's like you're in your most natural state, which makes you kind of want to stay on your side of the bridge more. It takes work and effort to go to somebody else's side of the bridge. And so it's really understanding that when you're in that space and you're with those people, that's where the real learning comes in, is like, why is it so hard to go to this kid's side of the bridge and just see what he's feeling or see what my husband's feeling? So that's, you're being distracted, but it's okay. So that's
Somebody just walked in.
Huh?
Somebody just walked in.
Speaking of which.
She's being a mom.
So that's the synopsis there.
Thank you, Jasmin. Would anybody else like to chime in and tell us who you are, where you're from, and either just simply that or share a tidbit of wisdom or question?
Hi, I'm Christine, everybody. I'm here in St. Bart right now. It's beautiful, also in the Caribbean. So I guess, yeah, I'm technically a Caribbean mom, because we don't actually have a hospital to deliver babies here, so people deliver at their home or like with a doula. So, but I actually delivered in Miami. I happened to be traveling that way when I had my baby. But thank you so much for that question. Like, I can relate, because my 3-year-old, he'll do the exact same thing. And I have gone on my knees before, so this reminds me, I'm like, that makes sense. Like, I've done similar things, and that definitely helps just to kind of get at his level and just kind of be playful. And then he's like, yeah, Mom, I want your attention. Like, okay. My question, my husband and I struggle with this healthy eating, and you're gonna laugh because I'm a chef as well. We try so hard to, get him to just eat healthy veggies, and that's just not his thing. He likes, well, the healthiest is like chia pudding and smoothies, but we don't want to force him, but I don't know if there's like a...
Yes. Oh my God, I hear
Yeah,
you.
I don't know. I've tried to make it look colorful, and he's like, no, I don't want colors. I'm like, really? Cool shapes, animals, like, I don't know.
But Christy,
So I've been through this. I go through this. I have 2 kids. And so one of them will eat, I make the distinction in my home that there's real food and fake food. So this real food is food from the earth, and fake food is from a factory. And now you're allowed to eat both, but one of them hurts your body and one of them is good for your body. And so something that's been really important, like my daughter only wants food from the earth. Like, I will offer her candy and a fruit, and she'll choose a fruit every time. So it's been amazing to witness how just some people naturally, and my son wants it in a package and a wrapper or whatever. And we have like a very plant-based, organic household. We don't have much anything that's crap in our house, but he wants it. And I also don't want him to develop like this restrictive tendency of he's not allowed to have it, and then he's the kid who goes to everyone's house and like goes nuts, So what I've tried to do is make clear that we're allowed to eat the fake food. However, if it's when we eat our real food. And he's a lot more methodical. Like, he likes numbers and like rules and boundaries. So I make it a numbers game where our rule in our house is that, and I don't do it for her. I made it clear that she eats vegetables all day long. She eats green smoothies for breakfast, like whatever. She has frozen peas, like that's her thing. I don't know why. He wants nothing to do with it. So with him, I've made the rule in the house is that he's offered 3 servings of vegetables a day. And we define that a serving of vegetables is 5 to 8 vegetables, or 5 to 8 bites for each serving. And he's not forced to do it. He's offered it. But he also does have the chance to have something that he likes as a result of it. So if he eats his 3 servings of the day, he gets a treat of the day. And so it's learning that we're allowed to eat treats, but we have to nourish our body first. And if you don't want the vegetables, it's fine. We're not going to create a battle about it, but you also don't get the treats.
Right. That's helpful. Yeah, he's similar. He's a numbers guy.
The numbers help. Like, literally, I'll say, like, eat your vegetables, and he's like, no. I'm like, eat 8 green beans, and he'll like count them, and then he's good. It's weird, but that works with him.
But Christine, you said
Yeah.
something really good too about the smoothies. Like he'll do smoothies because I used to say you can put anything in a smoothie. Like obviously there's something beyond smoothies, but at least you can feel like he's getting like some nutrients and some good, stuff that you put in there. So I think that.
Right, and hiding them in like the sauce or the veggie burgers or whatever.
Yeah, we hide all that stuff. As long as it's pink, he's good with it. But you can do a lot with beet juice and still keep it pink.
If my sister was here on this, she would say that she still has to do that for my dad. So.
Awesome. Thank you. That's helpful though with the numbers. Yeah. He's got that same mindset.
Yeah. It definitely, and sometimes we'll like make a chart. Like, did you eat your 3 servings? Like, okay. And if he's 1 serving, it has to be like the 3 servings to get the treat, or you come up with whatever it is for you.
Yeah.
But it is important. Originally, we had attached it to like screen time. And after further research, I realized that it has to be food related. So you don't make like the prize something that's non-food related for food.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, thank you.
Of course.
So how about do we have a few grandmother types on here too? Or anybody else would like to chime in and tell us who you are, where you're from, and a question or not a question? Lolita? No, Betty? I see Betty coming over. I mute you.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Betty. I live outside of Indianapolis. It was a brisk 34 degrees this morning.
Wow.
I'm super charmed by the questions about having 5 and 6-year-olds. My son is 14, so I miss those challenges because they just seem
so easy.
So easy. I mean, like, really, quite honestly, I wish we were trying to get him to eat more vegetables. Yeah, but and Dawn, like, to the super annoying behavior, like, that's just to get a reaction from you. The thing I found was just to ignore it.
Yeah.
Because I mean, to the thing that's like, I'm gonna drop this on the floor just to get your attention, whatever.
Yeah.
Sometimes just ignoring it, it'll go away.
Yeah.
Right. And you can engage, as Jasmin was sharing, on a different level. So.
Yeah, that's helpful too. Because sometimes I see he'll do it to like get my husband and I like almost like to use us. Like,
oh yeah.
Using us like.
Amazing how skillful
he's
and manipulative your child can be.
Stubborn. He's like manipulative and stubborn, like strong.
Yeah.
So I'm like worried when he's 14 if I don't get it now.
Yeah.
14.
Christine, I was super blessed because my child eats everything, and like tonight he's gonna make us Korean barbecue. I mean, but there were foods he didn't want to eat for sure, and we just did family style dinner all the time, and you just took what you wanted. We just made sure that everything on the table was healthy.
Mm.
So,
those are the only options. Yeah.
Choice is so important, right? And agency at every age. Yeah. So I have tons of questions, but ladies, I do have to go. So I'm going to say goodbye, but I'll join you all later this afternoon.
Thank you, Betty, for chiming in. Thank you
so much.
Okay. Anyone else? Where are you from, Juliana?
Actually from Colombia.
Mm.
I've been here in the States for 20 years already, and I live in Boca Raton. I was invited to this wonderful experience by my dear friend Lolita.
Mm.
And I love it to be here listening to all your experiences. I'm married, happily married, but never had kids, not by choice.
Mm-hmm.
But it's fun, and it's very interesting to hear everything that you're sharing. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you, Juliana. Lolita, where are you from?
Hi, I live in Miami Beach. I'm originally from Texas. I'm part Mexican and part Irish. My dad was Irish American. And I signed on through Christy's invitation. And I have found all of the knowledge that Jasmin has shared terrific, even though I am single and don't have kids, but I took a lot of notes because I think it's relevant for all of us. the way we deal with our feelings and whatnot. So thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
completely. And that a lot of that was from this book that she has here, which is not geared necessarily towards mothers, right, Jasmine? It's really just
Correct.
towards people.
Yeah, it's like a be your own therapist book.
Yay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Lolita. Do we have Ashley there? You finally were able to hear us, Ashley? Can you hear us now?
I can.
Okay, great. Where are you from, Ashley?
I'm from Miami,
Okay,
and now I live in Jacksonville,
great.
and I'm single and don't have kids, but I might want to someday. I'm not sure.
Mhm.
But it's nice to hear how everyone lives their lives with their children and raises them. I do love kids, and I spend a lot of time with my sister's children as well.
Mhm.
It's nice.
Thank you, Ashley. And we're thrilled to have you here. I think today's your first day on the virtual retreat, so this afternoon will be really great too.
All right.
Anyone else? Would anybody else like to chime in? Otherwise, because I know we're coming up on time as well, and I would love to just give you a tiny glimpse as to what we're going to be doing later this afternoon too. Jodi, are you there as well? So Jodi is chimed in and out. Jodi is actually one of our presenters for later this afternoon. So this afternoon, we will have 3 amazing women from St. Lucia and Antigua on with us. We'll also do a little virtual tour through St. Lucia and Antigua, which I'm going to give you a glimpse in a couple of minutes on just kind of part 1 of that, which will only take a few minutes. And then in part 2, we'll have a visual video tour, plus then we'll have a conversation with these 3 women. And again, we'll talk about some topics around mothering, but I think even more importantly, there's just so much that we can learn from each other. And within the Caribbean, there's a whole different culture. There truly is. And it's like how we were all even raised potentially is different there as well. It's definitely much more focused, like Christy started us off this morning, on the feminine, on the matriarch type culture and society. So that would be just a really interesting, I think, again, engaging conversation. And then we will go transition right into Jodi, which is why I was trying to point Jodi out there, but I think she's coming in and out. She has a 1.5-year-old, but she's a beautiful, amazing teacher, if you don't already know Jodi. And she has a beautiful voice too. So I think it'll be a little bit sound healing. It'll be a little bit of both. So with that, I would love to first show you a short, I think it's like 2-minute video here. Oops, hold on, let me press pause on that. So this is actually just a very fun kind of video that I filmed myself, not professional. You'll see me in it, but it's in St. Lucia. It is at one of the properties that we'll be featuring later. So I thought that would be kind of fun to show you, and it's just a couple of minutes long. So I'm going to start there. So just give me a moment so I can share my screen with you all. Let's see. Okay, share. Can you see that? Yes? Yes?
Yes.
So I just arrived to Marigot Bay here. It's my view outside my room. So let's have a look. This, I believe they call a 1-bedroom suite. It has lots of space, like a full kitchen. This is why I'm here, because of this Condé Nast book. So this is one of our Condé Nast hand-selected properties for Condé Nast Journals. This is my room. So I'm ready to head down to the spa. So I just finished massage in the spa. Marigot Bay Beach. There's a little boat that took us over in a minute. It's quite lovely. It's very calm. Water sports, kayaking, river kayaking. We had paddle boards over there. Drinks, kind of everything. So you can definitely spend some time over here. This is the Marigot Bay Trail. This is one deck outside the club. Such a cool stuff. Birds, waterfalls, lots of sheep. All right. So, just a fun little video from St. Lucia there. Has anybody been to St. Lucia? No? You, Christine, of course, of course. Okay, so we'll dive into proper footage from St. Lucia. That's just my little kind of fun video, but St. Lucia is very adventurous. You know, they have the volcanoes and they have lots of lush land. You know, they certainly have beaches, but it's not as much about the spectacular beaches as it is about the adventure and all that. But we will also take a visit into Antigua, and Antigua is really all about the beaches. They have 365 beaches, one for every day of the year, which is really kind of cool. So I have a 1-minute little intro into Antigua from a friend of mine who you may or may not know, Kino McGregor, and I organized a trip for her to Antigua, and she has this 1-minute, a little bit more professionally organized video that shows you the place that we're going to dive into later this afternoon in Antigua. So I'm going to show you that, and then we'll probably start to wrap up. So just give me one moment. Let's see. Here we are. Can you see that? Yes. Yeah. Okay.
I'm here at the beautiful Curtin Bluff, and I think that I may have just found paradise. Always wanted to come to this little island in the Caribbean Sea, and here I am. Wow, so amazing. I feel so blessed to arrive just in time to catch this amazing, glorious sunset. Look at this, it's a hammock between 2 palm trees. I mean, couldn't you get any more picturesque than this? It is a dream come true, a Caribbean dream come true. However good this looks in the video, it is even better in person. The sounds of the rolling waves, the beautiful tropical air. There is just not a care in the world. I even have a view of some coconuts that I hope to drink later.
Okay. So just a kind of tiny glimpse into 2 of these islands and these properties, but I think for me, anytime we're traveling, anytime we're experiencing something new, it's really about the people that we're connecting with. So that's what we're going to bring in we have Pearl from Marigot Bay, we have Wendy from Curtin Bluff, and we also have Toya from Curtin Bluff. So that will be really pretty special. So it's just about 11:30. Gigi, I know you had walked away before, but did you want to introduce yourself or say anything before we wrap up?
Sure, because I got some flowers that are sitting outside in 80-degree weather from my one part of my family from Colorado, and I had to bring them in the house and put them in water, so I apologize for walking away, but Jasmine, I just loved sharing earlier, or listening to people share earlier about motherhood and the stresses of going through it. Well, for you younger ones, wait till you go through it a second time when you become a grandmother. Now I'm dealing with a 5-year-old grandchild. that wants to be heard, wants to be seen, and wants to have attention. And it's a whole different feeling when you're a grandparent. I'm sure if Laurie's still on, she understands as well about, we've gone through it once and we think that, oh, well, we did our part, but then it comes around again, because Robbie is 5, but he is number 8 of 8 grandchildren I have. And in all their different ways, they all want to be heard, and their ages range from 19 down to 5. So being a grandmother is a whole different perspective than being a mother. But you never stop being a mother. Mm-hmm. I mean, even though my kids are probably, older than most of you, or they're older than most of you that are on this link, you never stop being a mother. And I understand when there is a loss of a mother, like Jasmin had, and you want some input, you instinctively want to talk to your mom, but she's not there anymore. So, you kind of like have to rely on what she instilled on you when you were younger. I had a loss. I had the similar loss. I had a 1-year-old child when my mom died, but I was only 22 years old. So at 22, losing a mother has forced me to kind of be all self-consumed. So when you have to do everything yourself and don't have that mother to help guide you through some of the early parts of your life, like having children, giving childbirth, getting married, marriage not working out, getting a divorce, having to fend for yourself. I really am not envious of all of you who have a mother. I just look at it a different way than a lot of people do. Some people have a different perspective on what a mother is. So I've overcompensated, so my kids call me Big Mother. Because I've overcompensated my mother role. But I really enjoyed listening to what you had to say, and I wish you all love. Enjoy those little guys, and I appreciate what the other mom said, that having them all grow up. Now I'm going through with grandchildren, so look forward to it. You will have grandchildren someday, and you will be sitting down and saying you must eat your vegetables. That's all I have to say, but I appreciate.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was beautiful, Gail.
Thank you. That's my mother-in-law, so thank you so much. And I have my mom here too. How cool is that? Does my mom want to say anything on who she is and say hello?
Hello, I'm Lori, Dawn's mother. I'm very proud to be Dawn's mother. She's been a great daughter. And yes, I agree with Gail about I went through the challenges when your kids grow up, and it was always a lot harder when they were teenagers. I said the 3-year-olds, the 5-year-olds were easy. That was fun, but when they were teenagers, that's a different story. But I had Robbie here yesterday. That's Dawn's son, and he's great. And he does talk a lot when he's here. And yesterday he wanted to go in the pool, and he made 50 jumps into the pool. And I was rating his jumps into the pool, and he's quite the jumper. And I took photos of him, and we had a lot of fun. And with the vegetables and the food, and he comes to my house, he always wants cookies. So when he wants his cookies, I tell him he has to eat his lunch to get his cookies. So I do what Dr. Jasmin had suggested. And I did enjoy Dr. Jasmin's speech very much. And I relate to that in all different phases other than children. I enjoyed this whole thing, the whole retreat. And thank you, Dawn, and everybody else involved in it.
Thank you.
Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day. That's a perfect segue to close out, unless there's anything anyone else would like to share or to chime in with.
Just one thing, I might have missed the names of Jasmine's books.
I'll put them in the link here and I'll send it also in the follow-up email. But here's one. It's called Extraordinary You. Can you see that?
Yep, now I can.
And the other one is called Extraordinary Mommy. And I actually just gifted that to our cousins, Melissa Oliver, who's having a baby. It's Melissa, right? Yeah. So I think it's a perfect gift for a new mother, but I'll send that. I can put that in the link as well. And I did put in this chat that 14-day challenge, which is so beautiful. I did it myself, and it's not really geared even just towards mothers. Like I even asked Jasmine halfway along, I said, can this be kind of for anybody? Because it really can be. It's just like a conscious challenge, I think. But there's maybe one day, I think, that's a little bit more geared towards your children. But with that said, I am so grateful to have Jasmine. Thank you. Thank you so much
Thank you all.
sharing your story, sharing your light. You have a beautiful story. You have a beautiful family. I'm really just grateful for you to be here to share with us. It's a gift.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Happy Mother's Day, everybody, even the non-mothers. Happy Mother's Day to your mothers. Lots of love to everybody.